in some instances where you're focusing on natural causes. For example, if someone's sick, there's obviously a natural reason. Maybe they have a
But
virus.
it's obvious to you now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Historically speaking,
But do you think there may be a number of phenomena where this is not obvious now but will be obvious in the future, and it may be a phenomenon that you currently attribute to the supernatural, but one day you'll I can't tell the future, but I'm saying the same way 400 years, what you just said would have been completely foreign.
but give me an example.
What? The example you just gave about, what was it?
You're good, man, you're good. Yeah, heckle that guy behind him. He's always interrupting man's camera. I'm doing the work of God.
Of course it is.
How much is he paying you? So I'm saying, over the course of time where the natural sciences have given us explanations for these phenomena that through the course of history were attributed.
COE back in the building still! So like, share, subscribe to COE. Second best channel of the Speaker's Corner.
Best channel.
So why do you think it's almost as if what you said is positing that science is now complete and it has nothing else to offer in the future, but the progresses of science may continue to explain these phenomena that theists attribute to the supernatural.
I'm not saying that science is complete, but I'm saying science has a place, okay? And when we're discussing spiritual truths, spiritual realities, or things I would describe as spiritual truths, such as the first line of Genesis saying, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, that is not a scientific discussion. That you cannot use scientific methodology to test or verify that statement.
So repeat the statement for
You cannot use scientific methodology or methods to verify Genesis 1:1, which says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. You cannot use scientific
But
methodology.
can the scientific method say there was no beginning?
What do scientists say currently? What do scientists say currently?
I mean, there's a variety of theories. I don't think any of them claims to explain the true origins of reality as we know it.
Look, see,
But this is what I'm saying. In 400 years' time, just like you're explaining things now that would have been completely foreign ideas 400 years ago, 400 years from now, they may be doing the same thing about the questions you're asking now.
I don't have any issue with the commitment of scientists towards naturalistic explanation for phenomena in our physical world. No problem. I have an issue with the complete rejection in principle of the idea of anything being spiritual existing. That is the issue. That is the point I'm trying to say. It's not the commitment to the natural sciences. It's the idea which a lot of these atheists come with, especially when they come with a kind of westernized egotism where they believe because someone who has a PhD said something is the truth.
You've got to leave the door open,
Yes.
right?
It's the idea that any explanation that goes beyond the natural world is automatically rejected and automatically considered to be nonsensical. That is the problem I have, and that's what I'm saying. There's a commitment from a philosophical perspective foundationally to materialism. You've made a commitment to a position you can't even prove. You can't prove that.
It's ironic.
What kind of proof,
They can't prove that the world is only material. They can't prove that. But they've made a complete commitment and shut the door and said you cannot even say there's a God because you can't prove that.
Have you not shut the door and said you cannot say that there isn't one?
Of course you can.
As a theist, you fix your position
Of course you can say there
to
isn't a God.
supernatural causes for the natural world.
Hold on. Let's take a step back here. The door isn't shut.
Okay.
Why do I say that? While I absolutely recognize God does exist, have I met God? Did I see the creation of the universe? Hold on.
Your position is based on belief.
Did I see the creation of the universe? Was I there when that happened?
I don't know, but some people
There's uncertainty in naturally. But what I would say is this. The position of the theist operating without 100% knowledge is that there is a God, and my reason tells me that. My natural, logical mind analysing the world around us points me to a creator or higher power which causes all things. So when I open the book of Genesis, after doing that logical reasoning, I can say unequivocally the idea that a God created the heavens and the earth is feasible in reality. Whereas the scientist says, because you're speaking about a non-naturalistic explanation, the words God created the heavens and the earth becomes an irrelevant statement. Because we cannot.
Is that what they say? Is that what they say?
Yes!
Hard
This is what I'm trying to say.
So, can I just say, okay, just to say, so I'm an atheist, okay, I'm an atheist agnostic, okay, but...
Wait.
No, I'm just going to, just hang on a second, I'm just going to dispute what you just said, because there are scientists who would open Genesis and would come to the same conclusion as you. I disagree with you and them, but they would. John Lennox, who's the mathematician, okay, in
Oxford,
yeah, John, understand? So he would have the same conclusion as you. So there are some scientists.
But that's someone who maybe this gentleman, correct me if I'm mischaracterizing what you're saying, you would say that isn't representative of hard atheism.
Of course not.
Of course, yeah, of course.
And he's not an atheist, John Lennox is Christian. What I'm saying is, when someone says they're an atheist, it's like, what do you mean by that? Do you mean you don't believe in mainstream religions and you're living your life? Or are you saying there is no God?
Yeah, I think
There's a big difference
It's an important distinction
between those two statements.
Do you want me to answer that?
If you want to.
It's okay. I do not believe that God exists, so I'm an atheist.
Okay.
But I'm an agnostic because I've got no idea if God exists.
Okay.
So I am an atheist agnostic.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What is your best evidence that God doesn't exist? And what is your best, not evidence, I mean argument for the non-existence of God? And what
I
is
don't
your,
know.
Hold on one second.
There you go. I can't answer it.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Listen to what I just said.
Yeah.
What is the best argument you've heard
Yeah.
for the existence of God?
Yeah.
And what is your best argument for the non-existence
Okay.
of God? That's
For
the question.
okay.
I
For
never asked if you know.
No, sorry. For the existence of God, okay, is from Christians saying Jesus is dying and he rose again from the dead. Okay, that's what they say. Okay, that's. I'm
The
kind
existence of God.
Yeah. I used to be a Christian, okay, so I'm no longer. From the non-existence of God, I'm just going to say, all I can say is my evidence of life, my common sense, and my rational thought that I cannot see God working within this world. That's it. Whether you accept that answer, that's up to you. But that's me.
When you say God, what do you mean by that word God? What does that word mean to you?
God, to me, if I understand the word God is probably a super intelligent being that created the universe.
And for that being to exist, must that being operate or be active in our world?
No idea.
So you use that as a crutch?
I've no idea. No, stand a second, okay? No. I'm not using that crutch, okay?
No, you said because I can't see God active in the world.
Same a second. Same in a second, okay? A few years ago, I was reading. Just bear with me a second. A few years ago, I was reading a New Scientist, okay, and they did like an article on what some people believe is God or blah blah blah. And there is one theory that this whole universe was created by some aliens in another universe that were just messing about in their garage, and then our universe was created. That could be what God is. I don't know.
But the question arises: what created those aliens?
I don't know. That's what. The thing is between me and the difference between me. The difference between me and the theist is, I will say I don't know. I don't think we will ever know. That's it. But I've seen no evidence to believe that a personal loving God actually created the world.
You see no evidence.
That's my interpretation.
Thank you for sharing.
That's it.
As I said, my issue with hardline atheism is the absolute commitment to materialism, the complete rejection, even philosophically, of the concept of there even being a creator in the first place. That is the issue, because what that shows me is an uncritical perspective. I have the ability to say, okay, and me and you have talked many times, you know this. I have the ability to say, okay, evidence points in this direction, but the evidence isn't absolute. There's uncertainty here, but I'm choosing to consider this to be true. Being a human being is what it comes with being uncertain. But I have a real problem with this notion, and this I call it Western arrogance. This idea that because Richard Dawkins says so, therefore it's the truth. No, like Richard Dawkins is making his own call.
I don't think that's how it is, bro. I don't think they see that.
I've spoken to a lot of people, my friend.
No, I think you need to go naturally versus supernaturally, right? Yeah. So I think they're well.
Not necessarily verses, but they absolute.
But the ultimate explanation.
Yeah. What is the ultimate explanation for the origins of the universe?
So they will believe that it's all natural.
Okay, so let me actually put this in very simple terms. Okay, according to what the scientists and the physicists tell us today, the universe, meaning what it actually is, everything that matter is made of. The universe is comprised of time, space, and matter, and energy exists within the universe. Okay, there's 4 components: time, space, matter, and energy. They tell us time, space, and matter are co-relative, meaning they cannot exist apart from each other inside what they call a closed system, which is our universe. Okay? Then they also tell us that 14.5 billion years ago, these 3 elements came into existence simultaneously. Okay, this is what science tell us. They say time, space, matter.
In this closed
system.
That doesn't mean that
we're just talking about one universe.
Right.
I'm not saying there could be
It's
more.
important to be clear about.
Yeah, that's what I'm really trying to summarize this in a way. So
one observable universe.
of course, because this is the only one we can see. So when we examine,
as in we can see to an extent, which doesn't necessitate that that's the edge.
Yeah.
It's only the edge of our
visible
horizon,
universe.
right?
They say that the visible universe is 93 billion years.
okay, so the point is, science is telling us that a moment in history, a singularity, an incredibly dense point, it's smaller than a full stop. The universe was incredibly dense, and at some stage there was an unbelievably powerful expansion which led to the universe that we have today. Okay, when they tell me that time, space, matter, and energy came into existence at a specific point in time, literally, time itself came into existence, the dimension.
Okay.
Can the universe cause itself? If there was a point where the universe did not exist, and then it was moved from non-existence into existence, can a non-existent thing cause itself?
Well, you say
something
that
that
the universe didn't exist, but by referring to this singularity, you're alluding to the fact that the base components that ultimately became matter, space, time, energy were pre-existent. So what reason do we have to say they were caused at all?
That is the point at which we can observe. Okay.
Right.
What I'm trying to illustrate is this: is it irrational, illogical to come to the conclusion? It's a question that something that previously did not exist, according to what I understand, I'm prefacing it very carefully. Something outside of the universe that was not subject to the universe itself caused it. Is that a nonsensical conclusion to come to? Something here did not
you haven't
exist.
explained. You're saying it came to exist.
Came to be.
But I'm saying, but time came to be. But what was the pre-existing?
Time is a dimension. Don't forget that.
I understand. I'm saying that dimension in this packet of reality in which we live. But what reason do we have to believe that those base constituents that ultimately became space, matter, and time have not pre-existed eternally?
Well, you could make that argument.
Because science doesn't say those things came into existence. It just says that those things existed in an infinitely dense, hot, what they call a singularity, where physics breaks down and then became something else.
Exactly. But still, here's the thing. You can either posit that the materials themselves are eternal, or something else is eternal. Those are 2 possible explanations.
Right.
Either the materials themselves have always existed, or something else caused the materials to exist and controlled the singularity and enabled it to actually organize the universe into the way we see it today.
Because often there's the issue of infinite regress, which is brought into this debate. Why, if we can agree on the principle that something was uncaused.
Absolutely, something was.
Why would we
It has
not?
to be.
So why would we not agree that it's the constituents of reality itself? Why would we add another step and say there's something outside of it?
Because the space-time continuum came into existence in that moment. That's the point.
I'm saying the things.
The components themselves also.
On what basis are you saying the components came to
You see,
exist?
this is what I mean. This is what I'm trying to say. What you're displaying right now is the commitment to naturalistic creation. That's fine. All I'm saying is this.
No, I'm not. I'm just. But I'm asking the
Yeah,
question.
no,
Why do you add another step?
Of course, we can have. No, that's not a problem. I'm trying to illustrate something, okay? This is what always happens. We get to this point, and then the scientists start saying, well, it could just be the materials themselves are automatic. This is what I mean. And what I'm saying is this.
It could be, right?
What I'm saying is this, okay? The theist position is this. At that singularity, before the singularity even came to be, okay, there was something that caused it. That's all we're saying. That is the foundational principle.
But you're
of
committed
theism.
to that position.
So you said something.
Theist. We're saying, instead of the singularity causing itself, there was something that caused it.
And
That's
you're
all we're
committed to
saying.
that position, and the door's closed
I
otherwise.
never said that. I'm saying, what I'm saying is, that's the point. It is logical. Whereas the hard-line materialist would say, there is no way
Right.
that something could have existed which caused the universe. Whereas we're saying something did exist which caused the universe.
When I was giving my alternatives,
Yeah,
the
and that's
naturalistic
a valid point,
alternatives,
that's a valid point.
you were reacting to me as if I was saying there's no other way. It has to be this way.
I never said that.
Right. Because I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, sorry,
like,
sorry.
why would we add another stage?
I'm not saying that there has to be. No, I am saying that a creator is probably the most logical explanation from my perspective. However,
It has to be because you're a theist.
no, but there was a reason. I wasn't born a theist. I had to think about these things. And what I'm saying is this: the atheist, the agnostic says I don't know. They're not making a decision. The atheist says it can't be a god. It can't.
Right.
Something
Yeah, I think that's
couldn't have been
intellectually
there.
dishonest.
It doesn't-
Yeah, I agree.
Something couldn't have been there. But everything in our universe is based on the principle of cause and effect. Everything in this physical universe is based on the principle of cause and effect, principle. So when we go back to that very beginning point, that singularity, I love that word, it's a fantastic word.
Yeah, but it just
moment.
means a thing
Yeah,
where
exactly. It's an
we
infinitely
can't work
dense,
out what's
exactly.
going on. Yeah,
It's a placeholder. You know?
yeah, absolutely.
That singularity, all we're saying is, logically, our mind points us to a cause for that singularity. Whereas some people will say, no, the singularity caused itself. The singularity is the eternal thing. We're saying, no, there is something else that is not bound by space or time that has the power to generate this universe and actually control it to
The
the
thing is,
point
you can't
where
describe
it
that
is.
thing which is not bound by space or time atemporally. You can't. Maybe it's a limitation on our
Language, yeah,
language,
of course.
but you can't describe that thing which is atemporal in an atemporal way. You'll either be talking about it in the past, present, or future.
Yeah, of course. But principally, if time is a dimension, as we've established, and something has the ability to exist outside of that dimension, it isn't bound by time, so we'd say it's a timeless thing, whatever it is. But we're not saying that this is the God of any religion. All we're saying is principally, our non-commitment to materialism allows us to even consider the idea of a creator or some sort of power that generate this. Whereas a scientist says, no, we refuse to even consider the possibility of a non-physical, non-temporal entity. They don't even consider it because they've made a commitment to a position that doesn't even
You mean a conscious
examination.
based entity?
It doesn't even have to be conscious.
Okay, well then we can just change words around, right? Any
What do you mean
process,
by conscious? What does that even mean?
well, awareness, self-awareness, this kind of stuff, sentient.
It could be a universal creation machine for all we know.
But what I'm saying is,
It could be a machine. It could be
anything.
right?
But
But
then
what
that
I'm saying,
machine could be the
well, it's renaming, isn't it?
universe
Yeah,
itself.
there you
right?
go. You can just
It
rename
could
it.
be- it could be anything. We don't know.
Why?
Causality.
That's a word.
Yeah.
Causality.
Okay, explain.
Something cannot cause itself. Something material like the universe can. Logically speaking, my reason tells me, I have to put it that way because I wasn't there.
I understand.
wasn't there.
I understand the clarification you made.
Yeah,
It didn't cause itself, but as it may be uncaused. You accept. I'm saying
It could be.
right. Right.
That is one possible explanation. That is one possible explanation. Another possible explanation is it was aliens. Another possible explanation, it was a powerful being that created it.
Being.
Being.
Which a being could be anything. It could be a doing. It could be a sun. It could be. Right.
All it needs.
I have no idea what it was because I wasn't there.
Okay.
But what I'm
if
saying
people
is,
don't accept that theory, what do you find problematic about that?
what is a better explanation that something caused the universe rather than nothing caused the universe?
But what caused the cause of the universe?
Well, we
We don't have to answer that question.
But we'd have we'd be adding another layer to the
Thank you,
explanation. Whereas,
Even if something caused the cause, that thing is still the cause of the universe. It doesn't change anything.
but I think it actually creates more questions.
Well, no, the thing that causes the stuff, right? That's eternal, right?
Had a beginning.
It's
we
outside
don't.
of time.
No, we don't.
So eternal.
I don't know if
don't.
it's eternal, but it's not subject to the space-time continuum.
We know that it's
Right.
Do
expanding.
you know what I mean when I say
We know
space-time
that
continuum?
space and
As in-
time
yeah, as
have
in
a
It is not
beginning,
subject
but
to
the
this
base
universe's rules. It
constituents
can exist
that
outside of our universe.
pre-existed that we don't know whether they
Can the universe
came
exist
into
in the same way?
existence.
But I'm saying,
No,
if
because
we
it's
take a
bound by
step,
the
take it
space-time
to
continuum.
levels before that,
It's the
we
materials
don't know
of the
what
universe themselves. Space-time and
So
energy.
it could
We don't
be
know what
They
that
came
is,
into
but then why would
existence
you
together
then try to explain
simultaneously.
So would you say you want to
claim
believe that
what the
logic
thing that
makes
created it is?
No, we're not even saying that.
Logic makes you believe that something cannot cause itself,
Let's try
therefore
to
it's caused by
keep
something else.
So when you
Something
when you started,
finite,
you said
something
that
finite.
certain people's beliefs trouble you.
No, I
As
never said
in-
that. I said
oh, well, I did hear you say it.
it troubles me. Which
Yeah, you said so. You're talking about the atheist belief, or lack of belief.
it doesn't bother me at all.
No.
You can believe whatever you want to believe.
Right.
But I'm saying the philosophical foundation.
believing and knowing is two different
wait,
things.
Wait, stop, please, stop. You can respond after. I'm happy to go back and forth. No problem. I'm saying the philosophical foundations of atheism make people unable to even consider the idea of a spiritual cause to anything or a non-physical cause. You have made a commitment to materialism. So the atheist gets to the singularity and says it must be the singularity. They have no conception or even ability to even conceive of a non-physical cause because they've committed to.
Well, no, because they have a process of working out the natural. They have a process, don't they?
They have a process.
Use
but
the
there's
natural to define the natural.
Yes, but there's a philosophical commitment to the natural. That's the point.
So I think it's important to
That's the key
create
point.
the distinction between hard atheism and then the atheism where agnostic atheism where ballast,
that's a different
where
situation.
belief is simply absent.
Yeah, of course.
But in the same sense,
Without
I think
a
it's
commitment,
important.
without an absolute
It's also
commitment.
important to give the flip side of it. There's theism, which is the presence of belief in a deity. But then there's would you say there's hard theism in the same way, where you reject the idea that there are naturalistic
Absolutely.
explanations? You reject that position.
I wouldn't say I'm a hard theist.
You wouldn't.
What I mean by that is, if evidence was unequivocally presented that the universe caused itself or is eternal, I'd believe it tomorrow. No problem.
But
Would that impact anything else?
Of course it would.
What would it impact?
My belief in God, absolutely.
So you would no longer be a Christian?
Because there's no need for God if the universe caused itself.
Oh, that's your understanding?
If the universe caused itself,
Right.
then God did not create the universe. Then Genesis 1:1 is false. I would stop believing it. Tomorrow.
Would it need to have been? This is maybe a different down a tangent, but would it need to have created the universe? Could it just not be a being which is far more powerful than you and I, which is overseeing the universe but didn't create it? Would it lose its value at that point to you?
The Bible would be false.
Okay.
So are you Christian?
But would you still?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there still a chance you'd worship it
Why would I need to?
because it has
And-
all power over you?
Unless this entity gave me the requirement to worship, then why would I do that? Do you understand that the worship of God as a concept is not a necessary concept if God does not require it?
Yeah.
Does that make, there could be a supernatural being that has zero interest in being worshipped. Doesn't care if people pray to Mecca. They couldn't care less.
That's
It's-
what
I
nature,
prefer that. I
that's
prefer
what
that
nature's
idea.
called.
It is so beyond our conception of the reality that it has zero interest in us individually. That is a possible description of reality. What I say, the correct description of nature is in the Bible. That's what I would say kind of quickly.
So I don't want to lose this point. Let's say we agree that hard atheism is a dangerous position intellectually.
Hard atheism is an uncritical perspective.
Okay.
It is a commitment to materialism.
So then would you
which they
also
cannot
agree
prove.
that the commitment to theism, hard theism, is equally dangerous intellectually?
Completely refusing any form of logic is dangerous in principle. I think a critical perspective does this: weighs up arguments for and against, and comes to a conclusion.
You must always be in a perpetual state of critique, right? You must always be testing your beliefs.
However, there is, for me as a Christian, I have done I've kind of done the critical analysis, and I've made a decision to move in this way.
Right.
Even though I don't have all
But
the
you
information.
haven't closed the book.
Even though I don't have all the information, but I've made a decision to
You have a leaning,
to believe in this
That's
way.
what you call believing.
Right.
But it's
Does
based,
it mean it's true though?
it's based on probabilities. It's based on
Yeah, but the probabilities aren't 100%, are they?
you don't have absolute certainty about anything in this life.
Agreed. That's why we say I believe.
Exactly. It's like if I drink, I bought this from the shop. I don't know if there could be poison in this. I don't know, but I believe. I'm sure that it isn't. I don't have absolute
You're
certainty.
still taking a chance, aren't you?
Exactly, that's part of life. And the kind of the summary of what I was saying was just very simple. Was that the atheistic belief, because it is a belief as well.
I'm agnostic. I can't prove to you.
You're not an atheist.
I'm agnostic. I can't prove to you there is no God.
I think it's important to be clear. It's the hard atheist.
That's the point.
But then within that statement, you should also say the hard theist.
Exactly. But the difference is that the hard theist isn't committed to materialism. That's the biggest difference.
He's committed to.
The hard theist is open to the idea that there is a spiritual dimension. That's
But he's closed to the idea that there are natural explanations for reality.
No, of course not, because by nature, even a hard theist interacts with science on some level. We all do.
But
They're not completely closed to the idea of. For example, in the Greek times, if something evil happened, they'll say the gods are angry at us.
Yeah.
They believed that with absolute certainty. If you showed that person that the thunderstorm was actually natural, and they kept saying, no, it's the gods that are angry. Like, no, like,
but that does exist. Even now, that exists in religious circles. So it seems to me like that mindset is as dangerous.
I can agree with your point here. I can agree. Being completely refusing evidence is dangerous in principle. But I would say, for me, that's my opinion. That's the reason why I don't really respect atheists at all. I have absolutely zero respect whatsoever.
And that's why we don't
when
respect
any
you
atheist
people.
comes to me with that kind of like, oh my days, I have a degree from this university. This university professor says this. My friend, you just made a commitment to one side. No problem. I don't respect
on the
people who are uncritical.
And you respect the other saying as well,
I
no?
do not respect uncritical people, period.
All right.
Brother, what came first?
Whether you believe in God or not is your business. But if you are so blinded by the Western tradition of kind of analysis, I don't respect that at all.
Can you understand why people will live that way? Why is it?
Because they've been conditioned to believe that atheism is the superior way of thinking.
So that's when you act. So your thing is about a superior way of thinking.
It's pride, it's ego. It's like, oh, look at me. Oh, look at these religious
I think
people
we're all
who
guilty
believe
of
in
that.
their stones.
Could they just not believe? As in they don't see any evidence for them to believe.
And they cannot prove what they believe anyway.
That's what an
can't
agnostic
prove.
is. You can't prove, but you can't prove. Well, it doesn't add up.
He's an agnostic theist.
No, I'm not. I'm a theist, but
Okay.
But you've already admitted you don't know.
I'm not agnostic about anything.
Of course you are.
But you don't,
not anything. I'm not
you don't
agnostic
know that
about
you're
God.
Prove to me there is a God.
I don't. Listen, what is agnosticism?
We can't
absence
prove.
of knowledge.
You can argue, but it's not. You haven't made a decision. You're not sure. Which, you're not sure if there's a God or not. So you say,
I
I'm
can't
saying
bring in
I
evidence.
believe there's a God. I've done my thinking,
No,
and I've come to the
brother, you're
conclusion
wrong
God
about an
exists.
agnostic. An agnostic means I can't bring no evidence to prove there is no God.
And I can't,
That's an agnostic.
And I can't prove evidence to prove that there is absolutely a God.
Thank
but I still
you.
believe there is.
Thank you.
but
But
you could-
believing and knowing is two different things.
We're not talking about knowledge yet.
What do you know about this God?
None of us are speaking about knowledge.
I think
Do you know about the God?
for a theist, any theist who claims
Knowledge is the wrong. That's the wrong
I
word.
never said knowledge, I said knowing.
Okay, no. Even
What
that's
do you
incorrect.
know? On your mother's life.
I know we're all standing here. I know the universe exists. I know there's a creator.
How many universes exist?
I don't know.
Thank you.
I know. I can say one. I can say at least one.
you say you know the universe exists and you know a creator exists. Do you know those things with the same level of confidence?
Good
But if you-
question. Good, very good question.
If you
He's an agnostic. You've just said it. He is an agnostic.
I think I disagree
There's
with you.
different degrees of certainty.
You've just said it. He's an agnostic. He can't.
Well, I think
prove
there are different
not-
degrees of
listen.
agnosticism.
You can have claims.
Being an agnostic has got nothing to do with being able to prove something.
Cool.
Being an agnostic is about your state of mind as to whether
No,
you
it means I
decided to
can't
believe
bring
in something or
evidence
not.
I don't
say,
think, I
look.
don't think that's true.
That's a completely different
Thank
position.
you.
Being an agnostic does not mean
I can't prove to you
does
there
not
is
mean
no
you
Allah.
can prove anything.
Can't
It's
do
like,
it.
I have decided
I'm a human being.
that God exists based on my
There's a
reasons,
difference.
logic.
There's a difference between deductive
Logic,
knowledge
points me to that position.
Believing in knowing.
And the agnostic saying, I don't know.
I think we'll have to
where-
look deeper into
I don't know if he exists or not. I'm not sure. I'm saying logic has pointed me there, and I'm holding that position.
I mean, it's coming down, I think, to a semantic issue. But my understanding is that agnosticism is the absence of knowledge that something is true.
No.
So if you believe something is true, even to a high degree of confidence, you are still agnostic, but at that end, at another end of the scale.
Agnostic is the wrong word. We should just say certainty. I think it's a better word.
Writing.
I don't have
Each of these
absolute
words
certainty about anything.
has a definition. We'll have to agree on the definition. But I think if you look into it, you'll realize that even a theist, even a staunch theist, whose religious position is built on a foundation of belief, belief by definition is the absence of knowing. Right? So
Absolute certainty.
yeah, but there's an overlap with agnosticism.
Sarah means big house. That's what it means.
You can say so. You can make the argument. But the difference is the agnostic they haven't come to a conclusion.
I don't think agnosticism is an issue of your state of belief. It's your
Because it reflects the way
state
you
of
live your
knowing.
life.
In the hieroglyphics, it tells you that.
So you've come to a conclusion, right? You've come to a conclusion of the question of whether a deity or God exists. Right? And am I wrong in saying that you said you don't respect the person who says God doesn't exist?
What do you know about the hieroglyphics?
What did you say? Just to be confirmed.
I don't respect the
Not in
person
Egypt, forget in
who's
Egypt.
completely committed to the materialistic.
What was the name of that? What we call
Just like you don't respect the person who's completely committed to supernatural spirit.
What language? What language?
What about supernatural explanation?
It depends on what they believe.
So that one's okay.
Yeah, it depends on whether their beliefs align with yours.
All right.
Because if someone's saying the supernatural beings tell me to go kill people, I'm going to say that's wrong.
But that suggests you know something. You know the
Go
unseen.
to Mexico 2,000 years ago, you see over 50,000 people sacrificed on the altar, believing in lies. So it depends on what they believe. Listen, materialism, the commitment to materialistic thinking is not natural. It isn't. What has happened is there is this academic hubris that's occurred throughout history.
And if everything you're saying right now, you could just replace the word naturalistic with theistic, and we'd be having the same conversation. The commitment to supernatural explanation for reality is equally. It doesn't
make the total commitment.
But you keep insisting on saying naturalistic or materialist explanation,
Levite family from the Levite.
as if that's the only type of closed thinking that exists.
Levite.
I'm talking about in general.
I know, but when you're talking about atheism,
give me
you're
the
talking
Levite
about in
name.
opposition to theism. But if being a staunch theist, being a hard theist, is as dishonest intellectually as being a hard atheist, we have to put them together. You can't just keep rejecting the idea that a hard theist, you can't keep failing to be explicit about this idea of hard theism versus atheism.
Hard theism. There's more that can be done with someone who's a hard theist. That's what
Believing
I'm
and knowing
saying.
is two different
There's
things.
more, you can work on that person. for sure. But as a person who's an atheist,
Well, unpack what can you do with a hard theist that you can't do with a hard atheist?
None of this doesn't sound biased at all, but let me what can you do with someone who's a hard theist?
they recognize that there's a God. They recognize that the universe is created by something on some level. They have some level of perception of the spiritual world. They just need to be educated.
So is it more down to control? It's easy to control them. Easy to kind of control them.
Control them in what sense?
Well, in actually doing certain things that might be beneficial to you.
Do you believe in governance? Or do you believe in laws?
There's a value in governance.
Exactly.
There's a value in
So us going and telling someone that the stones that they believe in that they believe are turning into sacrifice human beings is wrong. It's not a bad thing. In principle. Whether that's done in the name of a god or just governance in general, we all believe in that.
Yeah, but governance, you can control governance, right? So, for example, we can establish that's wrong, and we can just have a governance that's the opposite.
What religion are you talking about?
Right now, when I talk to you, it's Christianity. When I talk to you, it's
The
Christianity.
reason why it's important for me to ask that question,
Why?
because show me what in Christianity that you disagree with from a moral standpoint. From a moral standpoint, what do you disagree with?
I don't openly disagree. Maybe there's historical stories, but there's nothing I can really disagree with.
aside from people in
For me, it disagrees. It's true.
I'm saying from a moral, from what the
I've never made. I don't think most
is
people
there
have.
anything from a moral standpoint you don't agree with? the
When you
Bible?
say Christianity, like from which scripture are you we talking only about the New Testament or the Old Testament?
Right,
From a
right.
moral standpoint. Pick your testament.
Listen to what I'm saying.
I don't think that's
You
really
read
what anyone's
Deuteronomy.
pushed to do.
I find it interesting that you still feel that way. Because the New Testament is a clear departure from the prescriptions of the Old Testament.
Listen to what I'm saying.
You can talk about Old Testament, you can get stoned, you can do what you want. Choose what you like.
I think we were talking about concepts of truth,
Ask me, you're gonna
right?
kill
Not
me.
necessarily
You'll be dead.
right, wrong, and moral. This case.
These things are connected.
Get to something now.
These things are connected.
I
So,
said,
say
I
again,
believe
what
I
I'm
will be
saying
here
is,
tomorrow.
when
Now I'm going to lie to you.
When you
I
say,
know I'm
oh,
gonna
it's
be
about
here.
control.
You know the difference?
Well, we're being controlled by the government right now. If I steal, I'm going to prison. If I kill someone, I'm going to prison.
This is a
We're all
lie.
under, none of us
I
are
know
free.
I'm gonna be here
None of us don't
tomorrow.
have complete liberty.
I could
We are
say I
all under
believe
control on some
scripture.
level. But I find it fascinating why there's always this negative association with religion being as control. We've got to pay taxes.
need to get your
The
money
government
back.
takes
It's
X
true.
amount of our
It's
money. We are all under control right now. No one is
Yeah, but someone's
just said, what do
at
you
least
believe in?
someone's
You-
accountable.
Come.
But the thing is, with religion, even those who are in the most
I'm going to
powerful
lie to you.
positions
I
in the
know
religious
I'm going to be here.
institutions,
That's a lie.
they will still
Test
deflect
it on your belief. I've lied for
culpability
you.
to the
I'll tell you
ultimate
something
authority.
that's wrong.
Is there anything right now
If you get it
forcing
wrong,
you to believe in
and I
any
say
religion?
wrong,
I don't want to do that.
why you've got a good belief you'll make it to the other end?
Is there anything right now
I mean,
forcing you?
I'm just irreligious, so I'm probably the
Is
wrong
there
person to
anything
ask.
forcing you right now to follow Christianity or any religion?
This guy's waffling to me.
You'd have to ask that of someone who believes.
He's
I
telling
just
man
don't believe.
there
to
anything
blindfold
forcing you right
myself
now
to
to
run
do
across the street
Test your
become a
belief
Christian.
system.
Is there
to
anything
test my
forcing
belief.
No, I don't have the weight of
Do you
belief.
believe you'll get to
I
the
don't,
end?
well, I don't know why. You just keep on repeating it.
No.
But if I had the belief, then I would be
How is
forced.
it
No?
controlled?
Believe in that respect.
Who said it was control? No, we were asking about the question of control.
You made the illusion
I believe
that
I could get to the other side.
No, you
religion-
interpreted it.
No, you made the illusion that religion has been used as
I
a form of
believe.
control.
No,
And I'm
so-
asking-
no,
and my question in response to that is this.
As far as I remember, we'll give examples about
I know I should have done something.
2,000 or so years ago, people being sacrificed in yeah.
I mean, there have
we
been
were
ages.
talking about governance.
Yeah, of course there is. But my question to you right now
So we said
is
truth
there
and
anything-
governance. The difference between two is
That's fine. Here's my question. Is there anything whatsoever that is forcing you to become a
But
Christian?
we live in a very secular day and age, far removed from even 400 or 500 years ago, where you've been much more trouble for asking like religiously sensitive questions. So yes, but religion has been imposed on people. Not at this moment.
The question I'm asking is just really simple. Is there anything that's forcing you?
no. Well, I don't think anyone said that. Right?
300 years ago, we're living in a more Christianized UK, yeah? All you had to do every week was go to church on one day. That's it. You had to go to church once a week. If not, you get fined. If you don't attend church, you get fined like a little bit of money. You go to church once, you go through the motions.
So you're verifying
Is there anything?
the history of control, and maybe the further you go back,
Look, when you say the word control, what do you mean? Because none of us are free. I really dislike this concept of control. What we control.
High intensity.
There's police right now.
High
If I stole
intensity.
your phone, they're gonna come and get me.
High intensity. I think we're seeing high intensity. In the past,
This control thing is false.
no, but you just described it.
We need to put
But
this
you
to
just
bed.
described it, didn't you?
You gave an example.
You gave an example then.
Because there are many things that have controlled people throughout history. Many governments, many things. In China right now, they don't have full liberty that we have here. Many things control people throughout history, but for some
Literally
reason,
said, yo,
people always like religion controls. Well, there's nothing that is forcing anyone to believe anything. Right now, no one has the right to say that in the Western world.
Do you think that when they say that they're referring to a past time?
Literally, when homosexuals say things like, "Oh, the Bible," no, there's nothing that's stopping you from living your life. Go do it. That's what you want to do.
do you agree that the laws governing the Western world are ultimately based on biblical precedents? Okay, so that already is one example where religion has some control over us, no? Right. And the further
You
you
also
go,
believe in governance.
I believe in a type of governance,
The thing
not
is-
necessarily
the thing is,
the one
bro,
in which I find myself now.
But you come here from talking about Christianity, don't you, right?
No.
That's
no,
that,
no, 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 hold on.
But that's what you. That's what we started saying.
I did not come here today to talk about
No,
Christianity.
no.
I came to speak about atheism.
Right, and as it pertains to Christianity, right?
No, as it pertains to the philosophical foundations of atheism, and how it makes people unable to take spiritual claims seriously.
Right, and this is
That was the opening.
Is this? Would you say this is problematic?
Yes,
Why was it problematic?
because it makes people uncritical.
Right. So you think that Christianity makes people more critical?
I would say being open-minded to the fullness of explanations makes someone more critical. Right. That's what I'd say.
So when you read the supernatural stuff in the Bible, would you say that people are using critical thought when they care about walking on water and turning water into wine and stuff like that?
And isn't it interesting that the disciples needed that? Their belief was based on the witness of miracles. Miracles which are arguably absent from today's day and age. Can
Can you see why people might find it difficult?
Have you been witness to any similar miracles?
No.
So your standard of proof.
Now we're talking about Christianity.
Yeah.
I've always been. When I talk to you, when I talk to you, I'm talking about
I was trying to
I
keep
need
it
to read,
neutral,
I need to
but
you. Go ahead. Will you come back with you?
I'm not trying to convert anyone.
You know what? I don't think anyone here has ever said you trying to convert anyone.
no one's trying to convert
Yeah,
you.
no one's trying to convert you. It's an intellectual
I
conversation,
need to
bro.
read so badly right now.
If you know what, there's certain if you can go there's a Pizza Hut there, just there. Go on the Pizza Hut, it's just there. Yeah, sorry. It's a Pizza Hut. It's like
You can pick it up.
We'll keep talking for a little while.
I don't even wet yourself, bro. Really.
You've got an empty bottle.
Yeah.
There's no privacy.
Yeah, no, because the thing is, at a certain point, it comes down to what a person understands and believes. So my area of interest is that. Why does a person believe these particular things? And why is it so important for them to bring this up? This thing's cool.
So here's the difference between an atheist reading about a miracle, for example, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Okay? The Bible claims that God raised Jesus Christ from the dead. What does the atheist say?
It probably didn't happen.
It's impossible.
Probably didn't happen.
It's impossible.
Okay.
Improbable. Impossible. Unlikely. Not. There's no way that could happen because nothing in our natural experience points to that.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a whole series of reasons.
Yeah.
What does the Christian say? Or theists, they read that
Let's
information.
say Christians. That's more important.
Forget about Christians.
No, because that's what you are.
There's a point before you become a Christian.
But theists say, oh, that makes perfect sense.
Hold on.
I don't really need to say nothing. And look,
Is
you get
this
to like the
possible
camera, have a look.
in our universe?
That mic.
Has it been observed? As far as in today's age, no, but but you don't believe in that concept.
Now you're inserting
Okay, which bit are you talking about?
you're inserting a certain methodology of thinking
Yeah,
into the
that's
conversation.
very
I'm not interested in that.
Okay, right.
When
Why,
a
what
theist, someone who believes that there's a creator of the heavens and the earth, opens a text and it says, a man named Jesus Christ was raised from the dead by God.
Right.
That's the claim, okay? What happens in their brain in that moment? Is this possible in our universe? Yes?
Under the presupposition that a supernatural entity that can do all things exists,
Yes. Hold on one
is
second.
perfectly
You see what he just said?
plausible.
I said, is it possible? He said, no. Why? He has a different philosophical foundation.
But I think it's
Someone who acknowledges the existence of the creator of the heavens and the
The
earth
concept.
opens this book and says, okay, wait, this is actually possible in our universe, but is this a reliable story? That is the question. That is the question. It isn't okay, yeah. Okay, this claim here is a very big claim. What is the evidence? Is this reliable? Yes or no? But is this possible? It is. A resurrection is possible in our universe if there's a God.
Is there a value in people who have never observed such things to actually have doubts about such things?
Did you witness the French Revolution?
But as a concept, hold on.
I believe it did.
As a concept, we're aware that such things can happen.
about
Meaning,
testimony.
as a concept, we're aware that a government can come here and we can actually rebel.
Ordinary evidence, extraordinary things is
So 40 seconds. Does that make sense,
No,
right?
don't film me at all. Don't.
Yeah, there's nothing to see. We're aware that governments can come up and people can rebel against them. We understand the concept. So it can happen here, right?
Did it happen? Yes or no?
But this is the point. The point I'm saying
not
is,
asking about if it's possible. Did it happen? Yes or no?
Well, according to history, yes, right? According to history.
You believe that? You believe the French Revolution happened?
Well,
Yeah,
for
but have a different
understanding,
approach.
yeah,
Have a different approach.
What I'm saying is,
So you've reasoned.
the actions that happen can be observed, meaning people can govern and people can rebel.
You can't have it all your own way.
So if I say the French Revolution happened on the moon, would you
I'm
believe
going to go pretty soon. This is the main man. This is the main man.
it? If I said the French Revolution happened on the moon, would you believe it?
No, but that's my point.
Why?
Why? Because it's like it's less probable
It goes against your reason, isn't it?
from what we've
So what was the
observed and what
question? If
history
what?
has.
Because the French Revolution happened on the moon. It goes against your reason.
Yeah.
So what you have a methodology of interpreting information. Okay.
Without proof.
Without proof.
But I think
You weren't there.
the intellectually honest approach to the answer to your original question should be that something like along the lines of, I understand that the historical community has come to a consensus that the French Revolution happened. But I wasn't there, so either I accept their account or I don't.
I'll use the same example. I understand that the historical community in the first century accepted and understood that a man named Jesus was resurrected from the dead. I either accept that account or not.
Yeah,
but
I
use
the exact same words.
I understand, but then we have to establish the methodology by which those two communities came to their conclusions.
They claim they saw it.
Who does? Yeah, but then we can then dive into who they are, whether their accounts are reliable or not.
Before we even do that,
You're aware that someone claims that the apostles saw these things, that's all.
and before we even do that, we have to ask ourselves philosophically: is something like this even feasible? That's the question.
Well, it's interesting, even if it's not feasible, it's
That is the
interesting.
beginning point of even that journey.
Even if it's not feasible to my mind,
And what
it's
does
still.
he do? This is nonsense. He doesn't even consider it.
Even if it's not feasible.
He doesn't even consider it.
Even if it's not feasible to my mind, it's still an interesting investigation into why someone would say this.
Because you're not hard on atheists. That's the point.
Yeah, I never claimed to be sure.
That's the biggest
But this comparison between those events 2,000 years ago allegedly and the French Revolution, you have to also compare the weight of evidence, the value of what that evidence is, whether there are independent accounts.
Sorry, sir. Can I just say, okay, just one thing, okay? Ordinary things require ordinary evidence. Extraordinary things require extraordinary evidence. Now, the French Revolution.
You don't have to name who said that.
Occam Reza in the 13th century, the 14th century. Okay, the French Revolution is an ordinary event. There have been many revolutions that have happened throughout the year. So we can say with certainty that yes. But how many
The issue
people?
isn't a French Revolution. It's just philosophical.
Yeah, but
The way you say it's making sense.
But
It makes perfect sense what you say.
when it comes to basically saying,
It's about
when it basically comes to saying that somebody rose from the dead, 100 billion people have so-called lived on the earth since man. So many of them have risen from the dead. 1 out of 100 so extremely unlikely.
Okay, good. Well, you've progressed from impossible.
Yeah. Okay, look, another story, okay, then. How did I get here today, okay? Okay, I could have told you, okay, that I left my girlfriend's place. Some aliens took me up into a spacecraft. They took me around the galaxy, and then they dropped me off down here, and I walked down here.
Did anyone see it?
No, but it doesn't understand. I'm just saying.
I believe you.
Yeah. Okay, it's probable.
Let's start a religion.
Yeah, to understand it's probable. Or what's more probable, that I caught the 74 bus, and that's it. Do you understand?
bad ideas don't stand the test of
Yeah.
time. But look,
I get the point.
No, I disagree with you, sir. Look at the Church of Scientology, or look at the Mormon Church. What?
when did those things start?
No. Scientology started in 1950, and the Mormon Church started in 1830. Totally ridiculous.
You've nailed it anyway.
He proved my point. He proved my point.
Well, on agnostics,
He proved my point.
I
just wanna
didn't
say
prove your
that.
point.
He proved my point.
No. You just asked, okay?
you did.
No, sir. You just basically just said now, okay? You just said now, okay? Then, that nonsensical argument, something like that, don't stand the test of time. I'm just paraphrasing what you said. I've just basically said the Mormon Church, and I've just basically said the Church of Scientology. The Church of Scientology was basically founded by Ron Hubbard and he basically said this was science fiction, but people believe it. So it's still going strong. It's a very, very wealthy organisation.
Cool. Any other questions?
No. Do you want to go talk?
It's awesome.
No.
Enjoyed it. Good talk. Good
Nice to meet you, my
talk.
friend.
Good talk.
Good talk, bro.
It's always interesting. What's your channel?